Hey kids, this is Adam. How you doing? Sometimes things don't work out as you plan. And this case has nothing to do with my plans. I'm really proud and honored to have brought Dark Age of Roleplay Games out of retirement after, I think, 2 days of retiring from making videos. It's not exactly true. He said he was going to be making video responses here and there, but I provoked him to make a video response. He made this video called, I think, Raiders of the Failures. And I almost named this video Failures of the Lost Ark, but I'm really not going to talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm going to talk about this topic that he brought up. And his video was actually a response to one of mine, talking about if you want to know information as a player in a game, or you want your character to find out information, go role play finding that out. And I brought up the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. Jason brought up this great point, though, in that movie. It's the fact that, the entire movie is based on the failures of Indiana Jones. Very few times does he actually really succeed, but that's what really drives the story forward and makes it interesting. And he kind of related that to role-playing games, and I really started to think about that. And there were a few great comments down below. I think Big Mike from Tef's Tavern commented. I think Doomed One. He changed it. I think it used to be Doomguard. It's made some cool comments about there are some differences between failure in literature and in or media and in role-playing games, but still, it was really interesting topic. So I started thinking about this a lot. I don't like failure. I really don't. I don't like failure in real life. It's one of the things I like the least. And in fact, a lot of times sometimes that will get me kind of stuck because I don't want to do something that I might fail at, which is just, a look into my personal psyche and, one of those shortcomings I have to work on. And I don't necessarily like failure in gaming. It kind of sucks when you try to do something and, you fail. However, it can be a lot more, it's a lot easier to go fail in a role-playing game. We can kind of take risks. I think one of the commenters actually commented on his video about this, if I recall correctly. That's one of the neat things about role-playing games is we can take risks we wouldn't normally take in real life because the failures, why they mean something in game, they're not going to shake and rock our world in real life. So we have the freedom to be a lot more brave and bold in role-playing games. So, kind of a digression. But I was thinking about a game that I participated in not so long ago, and maybe you watched it. And it was in our All for One Regime Diabolique 4 GM game, and it was called Crows of the Wendigo. So JDRD 30 ran a session, and as I thought about that session, because I was really thinking a lot about what Jason said, I realized that entire session was driven by our failures. And so this is going to be some spoilers. I'm not going to give you the entire story, but essentially we're on guard duty as musketeers. There's this big ball. The Chancellor of Sweden is visiting France. There's a part, early in the game where all of a sudden we notice a bunch of crows flying into Queen Anne's window. We all try to rush up there. My character decides to scale the wall and get up there faster. Falls. He fails. And so that was kind of interesting. I'm a beat behind everybody else, so don't have a chance to react as fast as everybody else. So that's kind of funny. But then we're actually in the Queen's room. This is where the failures get interesting. And there's a bunch of crows flying around. We're trying to protect the Queen. We notice that, or a couple of us noticed, that there's one bird that has this little item in its beak and is trying to fly out the window. We're already trying to shoo the crows out the window, but now all of a sudden we want that crow. So two of us try. We kind of make dives, almost. I just barely failed, in terms of diving and trying to catch this crow. But the crow gets out the window. Now, had we captured that crow, had we succeeded in these attempts, I think the game would have been a lot more boring. Because what happened next? Well, what happened next was we watched this crow fly down to this tree, drop this item, whatever the heck it was, we didn't know at the time, into the hands of some mysterious cloaked figure who then starts taking off down towards the Pont Neuf, towards this bridge near the Louvre. So all of a sudden, we're doing these mighty swashbuckling things. We're jumping out the window, holding the curtains, letting the curtains rip and riding them down. This is epic and cool and musketeery. I start running after the person, but Jean-Marie, he steals a carriage because he figures, well, he doesn't run as fast as I do, but a carriage ought to be able to catch him. And he steals the Chancellor of Sweden's carriage. This is awesome. We catch up to this person, and we make this dive to go catch them before they jump off. Well, actually, I get involved in a little sword play with them first and wound them. They jump, into a hay wagon, keep running. And so I get involved in this. We get involved in this chase once again. We catch them on the bridge and once again just barely fail, and then they dive into the water. So we have to dive into the water after them. This instantly, we fail again, but this makes it much more interesting. And we have to go find them. There's this whole thing. Then, we end up interrogating the person. Martin almost fails. So it's kind of really, we're in the middle of trying to trying to assuage the fears of Monsieur de Treville, who comes in and talks to us about what's going on. And then, even cooler, there's one point where she beats up our lackeys, and I go and I try to tackle her, and because it turns out to be this battle nun, and I fail. She beats the snot out of me in this one, one blow, and knocks me out and escapes again. So once again, this is like our third major failure, and this person gets away. We finally figure out where we're supposed to go. We go, we track down to the actual convent, and we're kind of failing to get in. Trying to talk our way past the nuns for a while. So my character, actually gets up, climbs up the wall once again, this time successfully, tries to sneak around, but fails, and then one of these nuns starts shrieking. And this, it doesn't necessarily propel the story forward, kind of, though. It provides some comedy. But, that was, I think, the extent of the major failures in that game, outside of, almost getting our butts kicked. We would have been a TPK at one point, had we not had a lucky die roll finally. But that story, in my estimation, would have been a lot more boring had we not failed so much. And so, to me, I really, took to heart. I started to think about all these other games I've been a participant in. After what Jason was talking about, I took to what he said to heart, and over and over and over again, I've looked back and realized there were these times where we failed doing something. Maybe it was just one character failing, maybe it was just a party failing entirely, and how much more interesting the games became as opposed to us succeeding all the time. Now, of course, you play a role-playing game, you want to succeed. You build up this character, maybe you came up with a character concept, and, no matter how much you want to be into your character concept and how much you want to have the game be interesting, to me at least, there's just that part of you that really kind of wants to succeed when you attempt to do something, or you want the party to succeed when, faced with a situation. You hope they do. You would think that if you step into your character, which I like to do, I think I kind of do that kind of automatically, he wants to succeed. He wants to win. He wants to catch the bird. He wants to do whatever, but a lot of times he fails. And that makes the game a lot more interesting. So do I want to fail on purpose? No. But, to me, there's no reason to get upset in a role-playing game session when you fail to do what you intend to do, because oftentimes, probably more often than not, the session becomes far more compelling and interesting, as you're reeling from your failures and, just continuing to chase what you want. Makes for a much more interesting and fun story.